Alright guys and gals, I'll do a video on these Napier flares, plastic flares. I was talking about how I ripped them off my Jeep and didn't want to discourage anybody from buying these flares. They actually work better at keeping the mud off the Jeep than those steel flares do. We went out Saturday night with my Jeep, and if you've seen the last video, it was covered up with mud. We found a bad hole at a little private spot we got. It wasn't in the forest, it was a clay hole. As soon as I got into it, it covered the windshield up. And these flares here work way better at keeping the mud off for sure. And they go on by, they got a tapping bolt right here. If you can see that, here, you drill a small hole in the fender, and it's basically a wood screw, basically is what it looks like, but it's bigger threads. These flares work good. I did rip them off my Jeep, but I abused the hell out of them. Normal use they probably would be fine, but I'm not too normal, so yeah, I ripped them off. There is some cons with them. They do hold a lot of mud, and they got those spots that, like in that door there, see here, this big cavity in there. And I was always worried about somebody putting their foot on this and ripping it off, But for the money, you can't beat them. There's also up in here, if you can see up in here, see that cavity up in there? That fills up with mud. But you could foam fill that or something, to get that where it didn't do that. For the money, you can't beat them. I had 34-inch Super Swampers on mine before. I got those 36s, and I raised hell with my Jeep, and that's probably how they got torn off. Just didn't want to discourage anybody from getting these things. You get what you can afford. That's what I've always done. I watch these videos and read forums, and these guys say you can't do this, you can't do that, and telling these younger guys you just this, that, and the other, and they're just starting out and Jeeping. Shoot, guys, do it, try it. That's how I learned. I'm a lead technician for a major lift truck company, and I learned everything I learned about mechanic work by trial and error. Now, if it's something safety-wise, like the steering or something like that, yeah, listen to it. But when it comes to cosmetic stuff like this, you get what you can afford. The cut and fold stuff is that works good too. I got some buddies of mine that have their fenders cut and folded, and that's cheap, that's free. And these flares are pretty good. My wife's beat the hell out of this thing. If you watch some of my videos, I got one on there of her in a mud hole, and I'm screaming at her and like I'm mad at her, but I'm not mad at her. She just couldn't hear me, and I'm trying to tell her what to do. That was the very first time she'd ever been out on the trails with this Jeep. Right now we got her tires off of it, but she's got a set of 35s that go on there. She got 6.5 inches of lift on this thing. Another cheaper way to go than the long arm, I was talking about this on the last video, is this deal here, this drop down brackets, $200. But you got to have these adjustable arms to use them. But you might be able to find them on Craigslist or whatever. But this thing here works good. It actually worked so good I was worried that my long arm wasn't going to be as good as this. It turned out it was, But for a cheaper option too, that's a good deal. When you flex this thing out on a ramp, it'll lay that tire on its side with this on there. I ran it on my Jeep for a long time. These are made by Rough Country. And it's got 6.5 springs on the front, and she's got a helper set up on the back. Those old 4.5-inch things, what it was, with the shackle relocators. These shackle relocators will give you real world 2 inches, about right at 2 inches of lift. And just want to make a video on these flares and tell you a little bit about her Jeep. She did all this painting on this thing, all that pink. She wanted that CB there, and I did not want to even attempt to put that there, so she did it herself. She got it up there. It's been there for beating around the trails. I ain't even checked to see if it's still tight, but Yeah, it's doing good. She did all of that herself. She took her, well, I took her diff covers off for her, and she painted them things pink. Put them back on there. Her rims, you'll see in the thumbnail. The thumbnail of it, this Jeep is with her rims on there. She taped up those bead stiffeners and painted them all pink. Took her a whole Saturday to do it. Mine are black because I'm not doing that. I actually stole her wheels. They're on my Jeep now, but I'm gonna get her some more. Also, these Jeeps, another cheap deal that I found. I like cheap. Is there's nowhere to pull from these things on the front if you don't have a aftermarket bumper. Not really, anyway. I mean, you can get those aftermarket hooks, but I found this one in a junkyard, and we ran it like that. I don't know if you can see it the way the sun is. Let me get on this side of it. There it is. It comes out the bottom right there, but it mounts. I mounted it right up there like that. You see that? Some grade 8 bolts screwed through there. First couple times I used it, I was careful with it to make sure it wasn't going to move. It's bent right now, but she ran this thing out in a hole that we couldn't get to her. She was more than 100 feet out there, so it took us 2 hours to get her out of the hole. And when we got her out, it folded the whole front end up under that thing. And this is control arm afterwards. Bent it all to hell. Folded the whole front end up under it. Shoved the drive shaft up in it. I think the drive shaft's the only thing that kept front end under it. But XJ's tough, buddy. I got front of her when we got her out. Hooked my winch up to that side, pulled it back out, pulled that back out. I let her drive my Jeep. I drove to camp with this thing. We were camping out there for the weekend. It did good. Anyway, I want to make a video about these flares. You see all that expensive truck stuff on my Jeep, and it took us a while to do that. You're just starting out, you're looking for some flares, these things work good. And also, if you put these on there, the cutting that you have to do to mount these is almost exact what you would need for those steel flares. You know, you just got the front fenders you have to cut out more for the steel flares, which is easy, but the back you just have to fold it a little bit more than these are. Which these are cut. Somebody cut these all the way around, opened that whole panel up right there. I had to fill it full of foam. We bought this Jeep and it was halfway done. I don't recommend doing that. Also on this thing, I don't know if I said this already, but these ain't plastic. It's some kind of nylon plastic or something. And this is Raptor liner. I sprayed both of these Jeeps with Raptor liner, and it would not stick to these flares. It stuck to all the other plastics, like on my Jeep, on different parts of it, but not this. We had to get a adhesion promoter to put on these to get it to stick. So it's different. See, this is plastic. Didn't put anything on there, and it's been on there for the whole time. But these it blowed right off of them. I prepped them and everything. There's something in them other than plastic. It's not just regular plastic's what I'm trying to get at. But this is my wife's Jeep. Her baby girl. She gives it hell, buddy. Alright guys, well, y'all have a good one, and don't let the forums get you down. Get under there and figure it out. Before you know it, this shit be bad. Have a good one.